Again, we're here with Thomas Simpson, Thomas Robert Simpson with AfroSoloTV on the first and third Fridays of every month. And we're here with a very special guest, Thandiwe, who is given a little history about his life, and we'll move a little bit more into his artistic world. So, in terms of your getting involved with the arts, do you remember the first class you took or workshop you took?
Oh, absolutely. It was at the Meadowbrook Theater. It was a part of the Oakland University in Michigan. Meadowbrook Theater is a very prestigious theater, and I was accepted into a youth apprenticeship program under a woman named Deborah Wicks. And the work that we did was really life-changing. It really centered me. It was more than just performing in a high school play where you have, high school drama to deal with. It was actually a cast of other people who really wanted to act, and you had a teacher who was working in the field and a working actress. So you were inspired, and you really were able to take your craft seriously.
Yes, it was serious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
It was a good feeling.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the first time you were in front of an audience that gave you a feeling of wow?
Ooh. Let me think about that. That's.
Now, you said that when you were you had your first play, and you said, "Oh, this is what I want to do."
Right.
When in your earlier life, when you were doing some of the speeches that you said you were doing, did you feel some kind of accolade or something coming from that? They gave me the sense that I like this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Afterwards, you do a speech, and all of the church mothers would come and pinch you on your cheeks, and you get peppermints and candies, and it wasn't a bad deal for me, So yeah, that was the first, inkling of it. Like, oh, I can work this. This is a cool little hustle, and but I think there are certain scenes that I was. My first lead role was Allie Hackham in Oklahoma, and there was a dance scene and music, and it was a time to really shine. So after that kind of really solidified the. Okay, you're spending time with an audience, and you're feeling the vibrations with them. You're feeling it. So
some people say it's kind of like a drug sometimes.
Yeah.
And that it may be addictive.
Yeah.
But I like to say it's communicative and it's transformative.
That's right.
And it's can be transformative for maybe for an audience as well as for the artist. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There is a relationship that you are participating in when you're on stage, and if all goes well, you both end up changed for the better, hopefully. But if all goes well, it's an exchange. It's reciprocal.
Yes.
Totally.
In terms of your acting style, there's a method and there's a number of different ways that people go about preparing themselves for the work. How do you prepare yourself? Or what do you use a method, or what do you do?
I have studied a little bit of Meisner. I enjoy that, and I'm still working more into that technique. I tend to, with this show in particular, since I'm writing it, I tend to really just involve myself and become the character for lock myself in my room and walk around as the character for, an entire night or entire day. Because a lot of it comes from improv. And I'm in an improv troupe now, and that definitely helps with what I'm doing. So I really like the comedy and the technique, the improvisational theater. That's my method for the most part.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the play. Now, we haven't talked about the play. So the piece that you're working on that you will be performing in an AfroSolo, what's the name of it?
It's called Children of the Last Days.
And what is it about?
It is about, it's about a small African-American community that's embattled between gay rights and the separation between church and state. It's a satire that weaves in these characters are telling a story of just how the community is struggling with trying to live together. And I pull a lot of things from what's going on right now in society, the gay marriage fight, ministers running for office, and real things that
are really happening and being dealt with as we sit and speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's from the characters in the community, and I think the characters that are portraying are very different, and they all come from a different point of view of how they're dealing with what's happening in their community. It started over at the Queer Arts Festival. It started as a short story, and I applied for a grant the following year, and I got the grant to do the reading, and I felt ambitious and said, well, I want to do a whole show. So that's how it started, and I hooked up with Nurture Project, and they have been helping me bring that.
Okay. I'm familiar with Queer Pride with Pam and Jeff.
Yes.
Wonderful people. Now, the Nurture Project?
Nurture Project is a company that, it's a social networking company that produces art by artists of color, mainly queer, but not necessarily queer. They're artists of colors, and they create community. They've worked with a show, Misha Mosley's show, Where My Girl's At, which was very successful here, and it's just premiered off Broadway.
Great.
The past couple of months. So they've been taking me under their wing and helping me out with a lot of the aspects of the show that I just want to create.
Sure. But there's more to a show than creating.
Exactly.
It's when I first started AfroSolo, someone told me there's no such thing as solo theater. And that's really true.
That is so true.
And the sense that it takes a writer, director, actor, lighter,
absolutely,
lots of parts to make the magic happen.
Yes.
Now you've used the word queer, as opposed to gay or homosexual.
Right.
How have you chosen queer as your way of expressing yourself?
Well, I personally think it's a more broad statement. And it's a little bit revolutionary because I kind of I like to instigate a little bit, but it's a more broad statement. It doesn't mean necessarily who I particularly like to go to bed with, whether it's a man or a woman or a trans person or whatever. It's a broad statement, and it can blanket the entire community with that without having to say LGBTQ.
Sure.
Okay.
You also mentioned that it's a little revolutionary.
Yeah.
Do you use your art as a means of some type of activism? Is that part of your work?
Oh, I try.
In what way?
I think that, all good art is it's about activism. Like really good art, it has to make people think.
Okay.
And question. And I think that's what activism, that's a way that you can use art in activism. And I try to question people's perception about gender and religion and sexuality. So.
And who is this piece directed towards?
Well, the piece started out being directed towards men just like me, men that were queer and growing up in the black church and had a lot of conflicting stigma going to them, but it turns out that a lot of people who have seen the show have been not from that community. They've been white heterosexuals who have been like, I never knew about this black church culture. And I've been writing it for, it's kind of like my ministry in a way, but it's directed towards everybody.
Tell us real quickly, why should people not miss seeing your show?
You should not miss seeing my show because you will laugh your behind off. You will. You'll have a good time. It's going to be like church. It really is.
Well, that sounds like a good enough reason. Believe it or not, our time has just about come and gone.
Wow.
It just goes so fast here. We've been talking to Thandiwe here, who's going to be a part of the AfroSolo Arts Festival, and I'm so glad that you're here today. And I'm really excited that you will be in the festival, and that you're working with a friend of mine, Norman G., who's directing you. So it's going to be a real good time. I do hope that you will come see AfroSolo. Thanks for joining us tonight, and look for us again on the third Friday of this month and the first and third Fridays of every month. Good night.